What's been the greatest obstacle you've faced as a person of color working in comics?
Preconceived notions on both sides. I think the notion that, in general, as a black person, you have to prove yourself constantly on a regular basis, no matter what, to prove that you're as good or better. It's true. I hate to put it that way, but it is true. It's something that was ingrained in me very early on. Yeah. I always used to kind of joke that if I had blonde hair and blue eyes and my name was Jim as opposed to Jamal, I'd have an easier way of going. But I don't think it would change who I was talent-wise, but it would certainly have made things, I think, a little bit easier. But then there's also the other side, which is because I'm, an African-American creator, then, everything that I do should be Afrocentric.
Right.
And that's just not who I am as a person. It's not how I was raised. I was raised with a much wider worldview.
It's also unfair to expect that you would, speak on behalf of all black people when, like, white artists are never asked to be like, this story is like, first of all, Superman's like not white, he's an alien.
No.
But it's like, they're not expected to tell everyone's story. And like the reason they maybe expect that is because there's just not enough creators that are there. So they're like, well, that's your job now.
Well, no, I completely get that. And I appreciate that to a certain point, but what I choose to work on, like I'm working on Black because it's a fun story and it's something that I felt was needed to be done and something that I needed to be a part of. And it had less to do with trying to prove a point or any specific agenda. It's become much more a political statement than I think any of us originally intended, but I think the times have sort of dictated that. But again, like I said, I have to choose to do these things. And at the same time, I certainly had, when I worked on Firestorm, the Nuclear Man, was when Jason Rush was introduced as a Black Firestorm, and I got a lot of heat. We all got a lot of heat. On the old DC message board, there was an incident where somebody started a thread called Ditch the Black Dude, which basically devolved into probably one of the most racist things that I'd ever experienced at that point. The internet can be a cesspool of hate anyway, but it got so bad that they actually shut down the entire DC message board and reopened it under heavy moderation because it just got vicious. And it's hard to reconcile that. It's one of those reminders that as much as things have changed, those attitudes are still out there, and it's not even that they're more prevalent.
They're louder.
They're louder.
Yeah.
They've been given the excuse to be louder. I can't represent every single Black person because my experience isn't the same as yours. My experience isn't the same as anyone else's. I grew up in very particular circumstances. I'm a Black kid from Flatbush who listened to John Williams soundtracks and wore a black motorcycle jacket and Doc Martens. That's just at a time when all my friends were listening to New Edition and had high top fades. That's just who I am. That's who I've always been. I'm a nerd. I've always been a nerd. I make no excuses for it.